The heat over Kemet today is sticky, like overripe figs. It clings to the shoulders like wet, sweat-soaked linen, and even the heavy breath of Hapi, the great river, brings no relief. I stand on the scorching bank, feeling every crack in the dried clay through the soles of my old sandals, waiting. My legs hum. Beside me shifts Ameni. My grandson is only 16. His skin hasn't yet turned into the tanned hide of an old crocodile like mine, and his eyes still carry far too much of that foolish impatience. In our craft, that feeling is far more dangerous than a notched adze or laziness. Some kind of flake is stuck to his cheek, but I don't tell him. Let him scratch. Look, boy, I spit into the thick water and point north. There, in the shimmering haze where the air trembles and bends, heavy barges appear. There they are, coming. Gifts from distant Byblos, clumsy hulks that we will make swim. Ameni squints, shielding his eyes with his hand. That hand is still thin, almost girlish. The barges crawl slowly. They've settled deep into the muddy waters of Hapi under the weight of enormous Lebanese cedar trunks. I could smell that scent even in the afterlife. Even before the prows nose into the shore mud, the wind carries the thick, nose-tickling aroma of pine and old, hardened resin. This is not our humble scent of acacia or soft sycamore. Cedar smells of foreign mountains, of cold, and of some ancient grudge. Grandfather, look, they're, huge. Ameni's voice trembles slightly. How will we tame them? There's not a single curve in them. They're straight as Pharaoh's arrows, or a scribe's pens. I place my dry, knotted palm on his shoulder. For 72 years, my fingers have learned to feel the heart of wood before any tool touches the bark. My fingers remember splinters, thorns, and the dull ache in the joints before rain. That is their pride, Ameni. Cedar is stubborn as a Nubian donkey. It grew where clouds scrape the peaks, and it refuses to bow to the heat of our land. But among them, we will find the mother plank. She is the womb of the ship, its beginning, and if the gods turn away, its end. At the dock, Passer, the royal scribe, is already fussing. This dried-up pod seems completely out of place here among the smells of mud and resin. Passer constantly grumbles that his ink dries faster in the sun than he can dip his reed. He unrolls a papyrus scroll, ready to record every log. To him, it's just numbers, a measure of the wealth of the Lord of the Two Lands. To me, the beginning of a long fight between the will of the craftsmen and the memory of the wood. When the first barge hits the soft bank with a dull, guttural groan, the workers begin rolling the logs down the ramps. A heavy thud against the ground, you feel it in your heels. I approach the nearest trunk, 3 arm spans thick. The bark is rough, gray, deeply furrowed like the face of my late father. A drop of resin has hardened on it, trapping some northern gnat.
Come closer, I beckon Ameni. Touch it. It won't bite. Not yet. The youth hesitantly reaches out. His fingers rest on the rough surface. It's hot, grandfather, and kind of prickly. It's alive, I correct him, wiping my hands on my kilt. Right now it groans because the sun of Kemet is sucking the life out of it. If we don't hurry, it will split from longing for its mountains. Our task is to turn that longing into strength. We will take these trunks and carve the foundation from them. We will join them not with those barbaric copper nails that tear wood, but with the wisdom of mortise and tenon and the strength of linen ropes. Nails are for those who cannot listen. Ameni frowns. He clearly remembers something from market tales. Grandfather, I've seen Phoenician ships. They have this long beam along the entire body, a powerful spine. Everything rests on it. So why do we take wide planks instead of one keel? How will these pieces of cedar hold the river's fury without a backbone? I grin, baring what teeth remain. Youth always wants everything rigid and clear. A backbone is for creatures that crawl on sand. Our Hapi does not like rigidity. If you make a vessel too stiff, the river will snap it like a dry reed. We do not build a frame, Ameni. We sew clothing for the water. Our planks must breathe. We join them with cedar bones, hidden tenons and mortises cut so precisely that not even a hair can slip through. The strength of the vessel lies within the seams, in their harmony. I take an old copper adze and carefully, almost tenderly, scrape off a strip of bark. Beneath it lies the pinkish flesh of cedar. The scent is so sweet and thick that my head spins for a moment and my ears ring. Look carefully. The ships of Kemet know no nails. A nail is a crutch for the clumsy. It rusts, rots, and betrays at the worst moment when the river begins its game. We create a living body. Our tenons and mortises are joints. They must fit tightly, not a drop of water. I hand Ameni a heavy bronze chisel and a wooden mallet. The mallet handle has been polished to a shine by the palms of 3 generations of our family. The youth marks the outline of the future mortise. His hands tremble slightly. Strike confidently, but without anger, I instruct, watching a fly settle on the log. Wood feels everything. If you are rough, it will crack and nurse a grudge deep inside. Then it will remind you of it in the middle of great waters. Ameni swings. A dull, awkward blow echoes somewhere in my ribs. Golden, fragrant shavings fly from under the blade and fall into the dust. The boy hurries. His chisel bites too shallowly into the cedar flesh. He doesn't carry the angle through, leaving the mortise bottom uneven and ragged. Stop. I place my palm on his shoulder, feeling how tense his muscles are. That won't do, Ameni. The tenon won't sit. It will crawl in like a cripple and leave a void. You spared strength, feared going deep.
Remember, cedar does not forgive carelessness. When Hoppy grows angry and raises waves taller than a man, that very flaw of yours will become the crack through which death comes to visit us. Understood? Well, why are you frozen? Drink water, the jug is under the awning, and start over. Cedar is waiting, and Passer is already squinting, saving his papyrus. I make him redo everything from the beginning. Ameni huffs, wiping sweat with a dirty forearm, quiet fury in his eyes, but he says nothing. We gnaw into the wood slowly, blow after blow, until the edges of the mortises become sharp as the teeth of a young perch. By noon, a blister bursts on his palm, and the serous fluid mixes with wood dust, turning into sticky mush. I don't suggest a break. When the holes are ready, it's time for stitching. Linen is flesh, cedar is bone, but without the sinew, twisted, grease-soaked rope, they remain only a pile of dead forest. Ha, my old friend whose back bent like a bad bow over 40 years already stands on the other side of the hull. He chews some root and keeps spitting at his feet. Listen here, Ameni, and don't blink. I pull on the end of the heavy rope. A ship isn't built, it is labored into being. Now we thread this snake through the channels. Pull too hard, cedar will burst with a sound like lightning struck it. Slack off, the river will untie your knots itself and take the vessel, along with you. We begin. The first loop goes through the inner channel we so carefully chiseled in the thickness of the plank. These passages do not come out, so Hoppy cannot find a way in. The rope, thickly greased with oil and some foul mixture, smells of old fields and rancid fat. Pull, you old crocodile! I shout to Ha. We lean on the levers. My joints crack, answering the deep groan of the wood. Cedar resists. It still remembers the cold of its mountains and refuses to shrink in linen's embrace. Sweat floods my eyelids, stings, turning into gray crust on my cheeks. Ameni's knees tremble. Grandfather, but the youth grabs the lever again. Why not copper, after all? Those nails. The Phoenicians used them. Copper is stronger than thread. Copper is proud, grandson, and stupid. It is rigid, like an overseer's stick. But the river is alive. It breathes. A ship sewn with linen knows how to play with its sides. When a wave strikes the hull, the wood parts slightly. The rope stretches, springs, then releases again. It's like breathing in and out. Stand against the water like a rock. It crushes you. Become part of it, and it carries you. Understood? Ameni nods, though his face clearly shows he understands nothing. Just tired. By evening, when the shadows from the wood stacks grow long and blue, we take on the backbone. That rope as thick as a grown man's thigh. The only thing preventing the vessel from breaking in half when bow and stern hang on wave crests.
We secure the ends at prow and stern, passing it through tall wooden crutches in the middle of the deck. Come on, Ha, turn, don't sleep. I wipe my hands on my kilt. Ha inserts a heavy wooden rod between the strands and begins to twist. Once, again. The rope tightens, giving off the smell of hemp and pitch. From the very heart of the cedar hull comes a deep, guttural sound, like earth growling before an earthquake. Hold the lever, boy, I shout to Ameni. If you feel the wood trembling under your fingers, yell at the top of your lungs. The rope will tell of trouble before your eyes see it. The stern slowly, literally a finger's width per hour, begins to lift off the sand. The wood's groan turns into a high, vibrating hum that makes your teeth ache, and suddenly, a sharp snap, loud like a whip cracking water. Ameni ducks in surprise, dropping the scoop. But it isn't the rope breaking. It is one of the hull planks settling into its mortise with a dry crack, forced in by monstrous tension. The vessel suddenly rings, becoming one whole. Did we break it? Ameni whispers, staring at the rope stretched taut like a harp string. No, I spit dust. We came to an agreement with it. Now the rope holds the wood holds the rope, and together they will hold us above the abyss. Then came the pitch. In copper cauldrons under which we lit fires of sycamore scraps, black brew bubbled and spat burning drops. Ameni drove papyrus fibers into the tiniest cracks, and I followed with a wide brush. Pitch stuck to everything: hair, clothes, hands. Hey, Master Hori, the scribe Passer appears at my ear. He covers his nose with the edge of his snow-white robes, which look absurd here among tar and sweat. You're using too much pitch. My records show fewer jars per side. You'll ruin Pharaoh's treasury. I slowly straighten my back. My lower back answers with sharp pain. Listen, you dried pod. You count your pots. I count the lives of 40 rowers who will sit on these benches. If I save a handful of pitch now, the river will take all the gold of this vessel tomorrow, and you with it if you decide to take a ride. Want to test it? Passer hisses something, sneezes from the acrid smoke, and hurries away, scribbling in his papyrus. When the hull is ready, we raise the mast and install 2 huge steering oars. Ameni tries to adjust one when a random wave from a passing barge licks the shore. The heavy wood nearly throws him into the mud. It's mad, grandfather. It spins by itself. I cover his hands with mine, rough as sandstone. You're fighting Hapi, fool. One cannot fight a god. One must imitate him. The steering oar is not a stick. It is a bridge. The master does not rule with muscle power. He reads where the wind blows and how the water trembles beneath the keel. At dawn the next day comes the launching. 7 months we poured life into these logs.
The ship, resting on rollers thickly greased with sheep fat, shudders under the shouts of 100 men. Slowly, reluctantly, the mother plank creeps toward the water's edge. The air smells of burning, fat, and wet clay. And then the stern touches the river. The ship settles heavily, and I see thin streams of muddy water begin to seep through the seams. Ameni pales and cries out, "Grandfather, look! It's leaking! We ruined it! It's sinking!" Quiet and watch more closely. I crouch right at the edge. Don't fear the water. What we stood under the sun for is happening. The dry cedar, starved for moisture, greedily drinks the river. Fibers swell and expand before our eyes. Planks that seemed separate pieces of wood this morning compress into a monolithic deaf shell. The trickles slow, become drops, then vanish entirely. The ship, as if taking a deep, relieved breath, rises slightly above the surface. It no longer lies in the river. It stands on it. It lives, Ameni exhales, wiping his face. I look at my grandson. In his eyes, red from sleeplessness and smoke, I see the reflection of the same fire that burned in me all my life. Slowly, I untie my old leather belt and take out the bronze chisel. Its black wood handle is worn to a mirror shine by my palm over long years. A deep scratch marks it, from a fall in the Memphis docks 30 years ago. Here, take it. I place the tool in his palm. The youth flinches at the unexpected weight of the metal. It is not just the weight of bronze, but the responsibility of all those who built before us. The master departs, Ameni, I whisper, watching the whisper of cedar slowly turn in the current, becoming a dark speck against the rising sun. But mastery, it remains in the hands. Remember, wood lives as long as it serves man, and man lives as long as he hears the wood. Come, Pacer has mixed up the jars again. We must help old Ha. The sun slides west, and Hapi turns thick and reddish, like poorly strained beer. The water carries the smell of mud and something sour, the usual stench after 100 sweaty men have trampled the bank. My work for today is done. I sit on an overturned lime basket, feeling my lower back turn into a piece of unbendable wood. A sharp splinter is stuck between the toes of my left foot, but bending to remove it is too much trouble. Let it stay. Grandfather, Ameni appears beside me, awkwardly waving an empty jug. Pacer has gone completely mad, shouting that we used 2 extra cubits of rope to wrap the steering oars, threatens to write in the scroll that you're stealing state property. Let him write. I spit on the dry ground. That dried pod has an inquad instead of a heart. What do you expect from him? Better check how the stern sits, even. Hapi rocks our vessel, tasting it. I know, when the next inundation comes, dust will rise here again, and that cursed, painfully familiar rhythmic thud of mallet on bronze will sound once more.
The whisper of cedar does not fall silent for nothing. As long as the river flows and as long as there are fools willing to argue with wood until bloody blisters, turning it into something greater than mere logs, life will go on. "Hey, ha!" I shout toward the awnings where the old man rummages in the trash. "Found you a sandal yet, you old crocodile?" "It sank into the mud," comes a muffled grumble, "together with your advice." I grin. Tomorrow they'll drag in a new batch of sycamore for small boats. More cursing, more acrid smoke from fires, and endless arguments about how much pitch one seam needs. But that will be tomorrow. For now, heavy midges fly over the bank, and the sun finally drowns in the reeds, leaving us in peace. The work is done. To hell with them all. Time to eat.